Hey y'all, welcome back to Twin Oaks Family Farm. Thanks for joining us on Twin Oaks Farm Poultry on YouTube. I'm Melissa, and we're going to go into this current pen of Cornish rock cross meat chickens. We raise meat birds. Our preference for the type of bird is Cornish rock cross meat chickens. This is our last flock here of 2023, and we just want to do a quick video on, I guess, our underlying approach to raising the meat birds, kind of two-faceted. First of all, we recognize production phases of start, grow, and finish. So that sounds kind of random and abstract. If you haven't heard somebody refer to that before, it's not an industry-wide thing, anything like that. It's something that we've come up with based on our observations from raising flocks of meat chickens over about 4 years, specializing in this Cornish rock cross meat chicken. Also, so that's the one aspect of our management approach. The other aspect of our management approach is to maximize the growth potential and minimize the risk of flock loss. And of course, that has a lot to do with general management. It also has a lot to do with driving our production cycle length. Like, we have been raising them in 6-week production cycles, and we're actually aiming to go to 5-week production cycles during 2024, and that's really driven by that premise. When we're approaching raising meat chickens, let's maximize the growth potential and minimize the risk for flock loss. So we're not going to have a lot of time for, again, as we were in the previous day's video, down to about 13-14% battery. We've got 90 birds in this flock. We're going to take a look at them and talk about start, grow, and finish, and let you know what we observe in those stages and why we think it's helpful to kind of have that perspective on it. So welcome back. It's about 27 degrees out. It's about as warm as it's going to get in rural Southeast Ohio, USA, November 28th, 2023. And these birds are, for all purposes, finished. We would definitely call this the finish stage, and they are practically finished. We are waiting on their processing date. If the processing date was now, we'd take them. As it is, we take them to a USDA inspected processor. We don't generally have the flexibility to change the date, and we commit to those days like a year or more ahead of time. So at any rate, so they go in 2 days. They're 42 days old. They'll go on day 44. So we were just a little over our aim of a 6-week production cycle. But with having 6 weeks, it does delineate kind of neatly into 3 2-week stages. So 2 weeks of a start phase, 2 weeks of a grow phase, and 2 weeks of a finish phase is basically what we observe in most of our flocks. And there are differences in the birds at those different times. So just briefly, we consider the start phase to be the first 2 weeks. At that time, they're newly hatched chicks. They have the yellow kind of fluffy down. They don't have their mature feathering. What's going on in the birds at that time is their internal organs are, starting to function and getting to where they're going to be functioning as effectively as possible. It takes most or all of the first 2 weeks, and maybe even into the 3rd week, for a big thing for the birds to become able to regulate their body temperature better on their own. A lot of that has to do with the rate at which they feather in at, and they're pretty fast featherers, really. Cornish rock cross meat chickens are, but also they're such rapid growers that they kind of outpace their feathering. But anyway, in that first 2 weeks, the start phase, they'll start to get some of their mature feathering. So they need a lot of help in that start phase with regulating body temperature. So then the next 2 weeks we call the grow phase. And in our opinion, we see the Cornish rock cross get most of the frame size or skeletal growth that they're going to get to reach their maximum potential as individuals, as far as how their skeletal structure is going to develop. So, that's going on in that second 2 weeks, and they're getting more and more of their feathering. So during that second 2 weeks, it's really important that we're supporting their growth with high protein, and that they're all throughout production getting fresh water all the time, and in that growth phase that we're continuing to support them regulating their body temperature and helping them have good ambient conditions like with temperature, etc. So then in the finish phase, we're basically dealing with birds that are about 4 weeks old, that have got most of the feathering that they're going to get, that have probably got most of the frame size in skeletal structure terms that they're going to get. And at that point, they're basically then really putting all the energy in converting feed to meat, because they've successfully by that point put the energy from their feed into growing their skeletal structure. And so in that last couple weeks, the finish phase, they can really put on ounces and pounds of meat, because they're converting that feed to meat then. And these birds do that extremely efficiently. So that's kind of a quick on the start